Hello, my name is Jacob Boatwright, and this is my digital reflection of engineering business practices CEE300. The one thing that I had a lot of fun with, but a lot of trouble with at the same time, is the Pisces game. And the game was based off of the tragedy of commons, and it provided students with a real life decision-making situation and the challenges that come with it, and how they can be ethical or try to be ethical to survive. Overall, the goal of the game was to keep your village alive by fishing, by providing food for them. Um, each group could fish for as many fish as they wanted as their boat could fit. But the question was this a smart idea? As a whole, there's 12 groups, and if you fish too much, the lake could only repopulate so quickly. So one of the ethical dilemmas each group had to make was to look at themselves and ask themselves, do I care how the other groups will do as well? Or is it just about me? As seen in the version of the game that we played, everyone fished based on what was in the lake rather than what they needed to survive. This caused the population of the lake to diminish, and the groups were trying to find other ways to feed themselves and survive. This leads into another ethical situation. Do I share the fish that I have with other groups or only worry about myself? Depending on the size of the tribe that you belong to, depends on how many fish that you need. And as a member of one of the bigger tribes, so we had 10 in our group, it was difficult at times to have the quantity of fish to feed all of us, as everyone fished for more than they needed. The smaller groups thought that it was best to fish and have a surplus in their ponds to survive more days. As stated earlier, the lake's population was depleted, thus making it difficult to fish and for the fish to repopulate. Once the fish were gone, we really had no other way of feeding ourselves. It was going to happen sooner or later that we would run out of fish in our ponds as well. Looking at this situation from an engineering ethics viewpoint, morals play a huge role within the game. Each person's morals are put to test and can bring out their true character under the outside influence of various factors. Each village came to a point in a game where they had to ask a specific question to their self. And that question is, what am I willing to do to survive in the game? This is an important question that we need to ask ourselves in our engineering lives. What are we willing to sacrifice or to give up in our moral codes to survive or to advance ourselves? Hopefully, each of us asks nothing, that we would keep to the standards set forth by that we discussed earlier in the class. One of the biggest downfalls of the game was that there were groups that isolated themselves and weren't working together to survive. Yes, it did help them in the long run to survive, but all the other tribes suffered because of that. We can take this as an example in everyday life where, yeah, if we're worried about ourselves, we may be able to do well, but what are we doing to affect the other people around us? So each one of us wanted to survive, and so why would we not want to work together to make this happen? My original expectation of the game was that everyone would establish that there needed to be alliances and come to certain agreements as to how everyone should fish in order to keep the world or the game sustainable and in an acceptable condition for the next group to play. Sustainable and engineering ethics were the main focus of the game, so it was expected to have some sort of collaboration with the other groups. You saw this happen a little bit, but not too much. And so I feel like one thing we discussed in class was the topic of fairness and how each group didn't encounter the same situations. It's the difference between fair and unfair, but that's a whole different discussion. But thanks for listening, and hopefully you have fun when you play your Pisces game.